So yesterday we focused on solving percent problems when given a percent and a total or a part. Today we are going to focus on finding the percents of situations when given a part or a total. So looking at this problem, we're going to annotate as we read. The members of a club are making friendship bracelets to sell to raise money. Anna and Emily made 54 bracelets over the weekend. They need to produce 300 bracelets by the end of the week. What percent of the bracelets were they able to produce over the weekend? So now that we have read the problem one time, let's go ahead and go back and look at the parts that were given to us so we can begin substituting these values into our percent equation. Well, I see that Anna and Emily made 54 bracelets over the weekend. Now, this could be the total that we are given or a specific part of the total. So let's go ahead and read more to find out. It then says they need to produce 300 bracelets by the end of the week. Again, this could be our total or a part depending on what the question is asking us to find. Well, it says what percent of the bracelets were they able to produce over the weekend? So I know that we are missing the percent, so this will stay as the missing variable. But how can we determine which one is the part and which one is the total? So it comes down to close reading of the problem. When the question says what percent of yada, 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 they are really telling you the percent of the total in that order. So when we say percent of, the total is the amount that comes after that. So if we reread the question, it says what percent of the bracelets, so the total is the bracelets they need to make, and the part is the amount they produced over the weekend. So this is the part or the quantity, and this is the total. And that's going to be super important because we are going to be looking at different situations. So our eye needs to look for the percent of to determine the total because it will come directly after that phrase, percent of. So for another stamp, to find the total, we look at the question and read it as the percent of the total to identify which will be the total / whole amount. Now that makes 54 bracelets over the weekend as the part. So now we can begin substituting into our formula, knowing that 54 is the quantity. We are missing the percent, but we know the whole amount is 300. Alrighty, so now we know we can use our inverse operations to solve. So we need to divide by 300 using bow tie. 300 goes on the outside and 54 goes on the inside. Putting our seats, we know 300 goes into 54 0 times. So let's add a decimal and a seat. And 300 goes into 540 one time. We would add a 0, bring it down, and 300 goes into 2400 8 times because 8 times 3 is 24, and put the 2 zeros behind it. So we have a decimal of 0.18. But since we are trying to find the percent, we know using Dr. Pepper to move the decimal point 2 places to the right, and our percentage is 18%. So now that we have the percent, what is the question asking one more time? It says, what percent of the bracelets were they able to produce over the weekend? So they were able to produce 18% of the bracelets over the weekend. Alrighty, we're going to try one on our own before we see one more example.